Illinois Housing Department Authority, which is a quasi-governmental entity. And by the way, why do I know so much of it? Because my better half works there at the board, and she's a community outreach person for that for about 15 years. Not in that title, but she's worked there for 15 years. And they have very aggressive programs to make sure people keep their houses and help do this. In my role and through, I have former judges, attorneys, people that drive in that understand the complexities of how to refinance the home rapidly. And it's unfortunate. People wait, don't get me wrong, because they're embarrassed. This recession that took us over, that we're trying to climb out from, people didn't want to tell their neighbor that they were having financial problems. They weren't making the mortgage payments. And so, just a couple of Saturdays ago at 9:30 at night, I was on the phone for an hour and a half with a constituent who was crying. And I would be too, because she's had her home for 20 years, but she was already, they had filed a lawsuit against her, and she didn't know what to do. There are ways to help people even at that end to make sure that we maintain their houses. Now, I know the Attorney General has been somewhat aggressive with Country Farms and Bank of America, which has been the biggest problem in terms of direction of what they've done. Well, it's still not enough. We need to keep plowing money back into our communities, and that's what saves our communities and saves our elderly from losing their homes.
And now that you've announced your candidacy for mayor, what happens?
Wait a minute, one last thing. And somebody just yelled to me.
Oh.
And property tax increases are off the board. I have to tell you that right now. And again, that's like a form of foreclosure. And I don't think what we're looking at is acceptable. And I want to digress for one moment on what the city council is about or not about. You know, everybody said, well, this big property tax increase is coming, or this big increase to pay for the pension fund. It's like nobody moved. I mean, why didn't Bailey pick up the phone and tell Madigan and all the rest of the lackeys to say vote no on that, or delay it, and come up with a graduated approach to deal with it in 10 and 11 and voted for it. Same thing on these medical marijuana clinics. I'm still astonished at the conversation. Those of you that know I had cancer, I had tonsil cancer. I was thinking about running 4 years ago. And I lost 40 plus pounds. I put 30 back on. I had a feeding tube for 7 months, but I would show up as much as I could at all the city council. I didn't show up as much as I could. I did show up at city council meetings. And I had all the painkillers. I had a lot of hits of radiation, 33 hits. You know, sometimes I say about the permatano, it's from the radiation, and I get the chemo too. And it was rough. And I wanted to talk about healthcare because I think it's important. The healthcare I had was Cadillac healthcare. My tonsils were taken out of Northwestern. I had the best treatments at Rush. I think everybody should have it. Now, when we go back, as we're talking about this, the medical marijuana has become the compassionate medicinal drug act as we passed it. Everybody was amazed. Chairman Burke got up when we were passing the zoning at I think the July 30th meeting, and he said, nobody talked to us about this from the legislature. I'm scratching my head. I'm really scratching my head. I was very nice when I got up to speak about it. Whether you're for it or not, it's immaterial. But here's somebody whose own brother's in the legislature and he didn't talk to him about it. Everybody who picked up the newspapers for the last 3 years talked about the fight to have medical marijuana passed here in the city. And I looked right at the mayor and I said, this is what's happening here. I said, I fault our own legislative lobbyists that the city has in Springfield for not telling the city council. I mean, we're so dysfunctional on what we do that nobody wants to talk to anybody to move this city forward. So I throw that out there. Also. So I'm ready for the last question.
Okay. I'll wait. Okay. She's kind of running the show, so the last question.
Oh, the last question.
But I'll give you this one first. Now that you have announced your candidacy for mayor, what happens to the second ward?
Well, first of all, I think as I said, I have a responsibility to the people that elected me. My fiduciary responsibility, my constitutional responsibility is to the people of the second ward that elected me. Okay? Now, what I do is the same things that we've done at the ward night. I got to be concerned about cleanup, you name it, potholes. Luckily, with those young students that we had, we put in 5,000 311s this summer, and we put about 2,000 in the new second ward. They removed 1,100 hits of graffiti throughout the month of July alone between the two second wards. On the new second ward, I have all the zoning authority. Can you believe that? Because the aldermen up there have abdicated their responsibility. Oh, I'm not going to even serve those people, so why do I have to be there for those people? I mean, are you nuts? Those are the folks that elected me. I've had some tough decisions on building several huge buildings, new hotels, high-rises. Right now, there's one that's trying to push their way through because they come from a politically connected firm where the former alderman who was head of the zoning committee is pushing through development, and the people of that area don't want it. I have to watch out for everything, and now I've got to be responsible for 2 wards. Today, I just came away from a park dedication named after Bertha Henry Palmer, who was a fighter out of the Palmer hotel family, and what she did, especially she was a fighter for all of us. And that was in the new second ward. I'm still overseeing the building of 2 new parks in the old second ward. I built more parks than any other alderman. I closed the food desert. I'm the only alderman in this city that's ever closed the food desert. I brought Target, Costco, Kate's to the second ward. I made sure we had a new police station in the second ward. And across, I gave new lights and new streets to almost every area in the second ward that I was elected in my 6 years. No other alderman can claim it. And I brought in state funds, federal funds, and I used the TIFs to benefit the people of the city and of the ward, and that's the special needs.
Okay, we'll